I'm an autism awareness angel, making sure my wings protect the different, the stranger than. I'm an autism awareness angel. It's good, cause I'm cool with the unique behavior. I'm an autism awareness angel. Will you accept me? Cause I accept you. I'm an autism awareness angel, cause a view from the spectrum is a better point of view. The question at hand, are you aware?
Hello, I'm Tally, and welcome back to Autism 30. Today we are speaking with Miss Kathryn Theroux from Soar Inclusive Preschool, which is in the same building that we're recording this podcast, the beautiful and amazing Pacific Autism Family Network, or PAFN's Goodlife Fitness Hub, located in Richmond, British Columbia, Canada. Kathryn Theroux, MS, BCBA, is a board-certified behavior analyst who holds a Master's of Science in Applied Psychology from Long Island University. Kathryn provides behavior consultation to children with autism spectrum disorder and their families, and supervises graduate students pursuing national certification. Before moving to Vancouver, Kathryn implemented behavioral intervention for 3 years at the New England Center for Children, acting as preference assignment coordinator, case manager, and curriculum supervisor on the Staff Intensive Unit, a residential ABA program for children with ASD and severe behavior disorders. Kathryn is a frequent speaker at community organizations for families and professionals who diagnose, teach, and care for individuals with ASD. Since 2009, Kathryn has taught in the ABA Support Worker Program at Surrey Community College. Her course, entitled Foundations of Autism, Educational Consideration, is focused on the provision of inclusive education to learners on the autism spectrum. Welcome, Kathryn.
Thank you so much for having me, Tally.
Oh, it's our pleasure, and I'm so happy that you're here. Now, what is the history of Soar Inclusive Preschool?
Well, Soar Preschool has 3 directors, and I think our history starts in 3 different places. So for one of my co-directors, Krista, it started with her early ECE training in undergrad, and this has always been a dream of hers to open a preschool.
Oh, wonderful.
For Katie Allen, the second of our directors, it started with her involvement in PAFN from the beginning, attending some of those meetings and helping to sort of shape the vision of this place.
Which is a really wonderful location.
It's so beautiful. We're very lucky to be here. And then for me, it started with the course that I teach at Surrey College, and just over time learning more and more about contemporary special education and the different ways to include kids with different abilities, different backgrounds and experiences in the community schools, and really help kind of shape a more accepting and accommodating place for all kids.
Which is really needed in the Lower Mainland, which is great that you're actually offering your services that you do.
Yeah, we really have a deficit of supported placements, and parents are telling me that they're on wait lists for different preschools all over the place, right?
And that is something I hear as well. That's why I'm really happy to be bringing to our audience your services.
Right. That was a big part of our vision in putting the preschool together, was to provide many placements for kids on the spectrum, but also to integrate them with neurotypical peers so that they're getting more exposure to the kind of environment that they'll have in kindergarten, hopefully when they return to their neighborhood school.
Oh, that's fantastic. Now, what's the philosophy?
So the philosophy is an inclusive philosophy, which means that we intend to provide meaningful experiences for kids, both socially and academically,
Yes.
for all kids in the preschool, right? So it means that everyone who comes can expect to have equal opportunity to learn and make friends and make connections with folks.
Fantastic.
Kind of, providing to each according to their need, but also expecting the same level of experience for all the kids.
Oh, wonderful. Now, what is the difference between your preschool and the typical preschool, the neurotypical preschool that they have here?
I think there's a few differences. One of them is just the number of placements for kids on the spectrum. It's common to go into a preschool and see 1 or 2 supported placements available.
That's true.
But for us, our goal when we're fully enrolled is to be pretty close to 50-50, right? So we can accommodate up to 20 kids in a class, so that would be 10 and 10.
That's wonderful news.
Yeah, so that's really a big part of one of the things that we think is a draw. And then the other piece is just the level of expertise and collaboration collaboration between special education staff. We're all board certified behavior analysts, all 3 directors, and our program manager has extensive experience providing ABA services, but then also she has her ECE assistant certification. Our preschool teacher is an ECE certified teacher. And so being able to kind of come together and use both the ECE principles and the ABA principles in providing these programs, that was a big second goal of ours.
And that's another piece of great news for parents, because they know that when they're dropping their child who has autism to your preschool, that they know that they're in good, educated hands, that they're not just being dropped off to somebody who might have taken one workshop in autism. You're completely and totally certified and knowledgeable to be able to fully, professionally, positively affect the children in your care.
That's our goal. We're all Category A registered autism service providers in British Columbia, and something that applied behavior analysis does maybe a little bit differently than other support environments is that we're very focused on supervision, and there's quite a bit of regulation within the field of how we supervise the individuals under us. So in terms of having support workers or behavioral interventionists in the preschool, I think parents can feel comfortable and confident knowing that those folks are receiving quite a bit of training, both in advance of us opening our doors, but also ongoing.
Oh, that's great. Now, what autism theory or therapy do you follow and why?
Sure. So we are, the 3 of us are board certified behavior analysts. So that means that our work is in the provision of applied behavior analysis to individuals on the spectrum. So ABA is a method of intervention where we take the smallest building blocks of learning and we figure out, how can you break down a complex skill like having a conversation or sitting down and opening up your snack and eating your snack together with your peers, and what are sort of the smallest little skills that you need to be able to do that, mastering those skills and then building them into bigger skills and building them into bigger skills until that whole response is one mastered skill.
And that's great, because correct me if I'm wrong, but when you do ABA, there's also a lot of documentation involved with that.
Yes, I'm glad that you brought that up. Yes, so progress tracking is a huge piece of what we do, both when we're providing home-based or center-based services, and also something that we'll be doing in the preschool as well. And that will be for all the children, because one of our sort of main philosophies is that everyone has something to work on. So we'll be creating and measuring individualized goals for the kids on the spectrum, but also for their peers. I mean, many of us, child development is so varied that there's stuff that could be supported for most kids that we know, right?
Absolutely. I know a common thing that I hear people say is that often when teaching a classroom, often what's good for the child on the spectrum is often excellent for everyone else neurotypical in the classroom as well. Yep. So I'm really happy that you mentioned that, because I too agree that just because you're not on the spectrum doesn't mean that you don't have anything to work on, that all children need growth in various areas. And I'm really pleased to know that when you have typical children in your preschool, that they are also growing and developing alongside their peers.
Absolutely. I personally benefited from a number of special education services, and I had to wait till public school to receive services for that. But I had a lisp. You can maybe even hear a little bit of that still lingering. And I had speech intervention as a kid. I did a few different other things to work on time management stuff. And so I think that for any other neurotypical kids like me who could benefit from those services earlier, right? Earlier is almost always better.
Absolutely. And I fully agree. Now, is your preschool full-time, and what are the hours?
Our preschool offers 3 different programs. So for the younger children, our suggestion is that 3-year-olds or 2.5-year-olds come for the morning program. So that is from 9 in the morning till 11:30, so 2.5 hours. Okay. And families can choose to either enroll in 3 days a week or 2 days a week.
Okay, so
right?
You give families that option.
Absolutely. So for some younger children where this is their first experience ever, or where they might have other therapy appointments or something that they need to accommodate, that option is available. For our 4-year-olds and even some 5-year-olds who are approaching kindergarten next year, then they come Monday through Friday in the afternoon, and they come for 3 hours from 12:30 to 3:30. And what that allows us is an extra circle time where we work on some more academic skills. Our afternoon learners are kids who are approaching preschool next year. So those are age 4 and 5. I should add, we have some families who choose to delay starting kindergarten for a year. And so they want to both maximize their autism funding and their intervention by having the flexibility in the day, but they also want their learner to have a little bit of extra practice before starting in school. So those families whose children are going to be 5 but choose to stay back a year, they just want a little bit of extra practice integrating into the environment before they move fully into public school, because a lot of families anticipate that they won't have as much support as they might in their preschool setting or certainly in home-based.
Absolutely, and that's really a common thing to do for a lot of children.
That's right. We have that kind of bonus year option.
And what does the student's daily life at your preschool look like, the schedule?
Mm-hmm. So the schedule looks like any other play-based preschool program. So the kids come in, we start with some free play, then we come together for circle. There will be a lesson with high visual components, felt board puppets, other things that we're putting together. And then we'll do some related activities on the theme. There will be some outdoor time in our beautiful playground, which I encourage parents to come see if they haven't seen it before.
Oh, and I concur. It's gorgeous.
Yes, really, we're very lucky. And we'll have a snack time together, then a few more activities, a little bit more free play, and it'll be time to go home.
And can you explain to our audience why play for children is so important?
Absolutely.
Because I know a large percentage of parents always want the academic word being thrown out. So can you please clarify?
Yes.
Because I agree with you why play is important.
Play is incredibly important for all children, but it's also really important for children on the spectrum if it's done in a supported way. In fact, a lot of our high-functioning kids on the spectrum are not going to struggle that much with primary academics, right? Their memory skills are going to see them through learning our letters and our numbers and early addition and things. But when it comes to play, those are our opportunities to practice our social skills and communication skills, which are the major deficit areas for kids on the autism spectrum.
Very well said.
This is also an area where all kids need work because that's where we develop empathy, where we think about others, perspective taking, all of the skills that are going to create good citizens of tomorrow. So we think that it's incredibly important for us to include a large play component in the day. At the same time, we make sure that there are adults present to be facilitating those interactions, because it's not something where we just sort of want to set the kids free and, go ahead and teach yourselves, right? We want them working on the goals that they have set for them.
Absolutely. So basically what you're saying is play is actually structured learning.
Absolutely. That's work for kids.
And I'm glad you said that word too. It is absolutely work for kids, and especially our kids who take a lot longer to learn the skills that neurotypical children
Entirely
take.
true.
And what is the student-teacher ratio?
So the student-teacher ratio from a general preschool perspective is we have our preschool manager, who's also an ECE assistant, and then our ECE teacher and another ECE assistant who's available. And then for our children on the spectrum, we also provide behavioral intervention. So that may occur roughly on a 1 to 2 basis. So let's say one behavior interventionist for every 2 kids on the spectrum, but it really is on a case-by-case basis. Some children need more support, and so their parents might send their BI from home, which is completely an option, or they might be ready to practice having a little bit more independence, in which case they're coming without an identified support person, but we're there monitoring how that goes.
And that's really great. And do you work with other companies in the PAFN's Goodlife Fitness Hub within this building?
Yes, we do. That's part of the mandate of PAFN, is that we are a collaborative center. So there are other behavior consultants who may send a client to preschool, and we'll be very excited to collaborate with them. There's music therapy, there's occupational therapy, there's other different services. Hopefully a lot of our clients will benefit from some of the assessment services upstairs, or working with the blood lab or the dental lab. We're very excited about all of the opportunities for involvement.
I know, it's truly amazing. And I know myself personally, we're so grateful that this is located here.
We are too.
And do you work with elementary schools that your students will be attending in the future?
Yes. So this is something that as service providers in the larger community, we're very aware of the way that kind of supported early childhood services sort of end. And there's kind of one final meeting where they kind of launch our clients at the school, and the school has to pick them up and carry it for there. And we would like to provide more collaboration with the next environment to really support our kids through that transition, whether it means creating routines in the preschool that are going to mimic the kindergarten routines so we can get extra practice with that, or sharing any of the cueing strategies or prompting that we've been using, certainly providing a lot of information about the goals that they've worked on and the type of support that works for that student. Yeah, we really hope that that will be a bridge from this environment to that.
So that's wonderful. So what you're saying is students that attend your preschool really will have an excellent opportunity to ease the transition into elementary school because you work really well and you're clear about the goals that they need to achieve to ensure a successful transition.
That's our goal, right? Parents are investing a lot of time and resources into coming to preschool, especially if they need to drive from a distance. And so we really want them to feel like it was worth it and not just that it existed in this bubble and then, they went on to their next environment and we sort of, there was no connection there.
Absolutely. Now, I know you spoke about your qualifications and your other directors, but what qualifications are needed to become a teacher at your preschool?
Excellent. So it's both credentials and then experience. So we're looking for, we're in the process of interviewing several very impressive individuals who have their ECE certification as teachers, but then also have some degree of experience either with behavior analysis itself or with providing support to kids on the autism spectrum. We'll be able to provide a bunch of additional training because nobody has worked in a preschool like ours before,
yes.
But we want folks coming in with experience with all the aspects of preschool, whether that's licensing, circle time, and then providing support to kids with special needs.
Do you have volunteers and what are their qualifications?
What we have for volunteers are practicum students. So as part of ECE certification, all students are required to complete several practicums. Paid and unpaid are available for them. And so our intention is to provide training and experience for folks who are coming into the field, not just young behavior analysts who are working on their clinical training, but really people who are going to go into preschools themselves and can really make a difference. So we take practicum students for that.
And that's wonderful because I know you train fellow teachers and fellow people who are going to be working with children with autism. You actually train those people.
That's right. Yeah. And this is something that we can do here. We have an observation room where they can come in and just see how the preschool is working, take notes as part of their coursework. And then also we have positions available for them to come in and work directly with the kids under our supervision.
And what a gift that is to our community. And can you use the autism funding received by the British Columbia government to attend this school?
Yes. So kids on the spectrum are receiving behavioral intervention while they're with us. And so we can bill for behavioral intervention to autism funding.
Fantastic. Now, what's the application process to attend your preschool?
There's an application to fill out that just goes over basic preschool information that they would find in any preschool: immunization records, who's your emergency contact, that kind of stuff. And then we have the families come in and we do an in-depth interview. And if they have other clinical service providers that they want to bring with them for the interview or set up another meeting for us, if they have diagnostic reports or things, we're happy to review those. But we sit together for half an hour to an hour and just go over the needs of their particular child so that we have a really good sense of how they're going to fit into our program and what supports we need to provide.
That's really great. That means you work clearly with the families as well. So it's a family team, a family unit.
Exactly right.
That's basically attending the preschool. I mean, the student might be going. You really are working as part of a team.
That's right. In British Columbia, that's especially how we're working because there are so few centers, right? So parents are even more involved maybe than they are in other areas. And we want to maintain that involvement either with parent workshops and training or just making sure that we're getting a lot of feedback on what benefits their child individually. And then also because this will be the first year of our program, how they see the program, how we can better accommodate them or, create a program that better fits their needs.
That's great. Now, when should parents apply?
They can still apply now. We still have spaces available both in the morning and in the afternoon program.
That's great.
That's right. Yeah, we're really excited to fill up, but we're not full yet. And so I'd say contact us by email, and we can set up a phone call for more information and then go into an application process after that.
And all of those details will be on the autism30.com website. And what do you believe are the strengths of Soar Inclusive Preschool?
Number one, I think it's the expertise that's available and that will be on site to support the kids. Number two, I think it's our progress tracking, right? Which is a huge piece that we can bring from applied behavior analysis into the preschool room, just making sure that we're taking real meaningful measurement and we can see where the gains are happening and where maybe interfering behaviors are going down, whether real progress is happening.
Absolutely. And parents can clearly see the developments and improvements made.
That's
through
right.
the year.
And I'd say our third strength is our collaboration with outside service providers, other providers in the center, and the families themselves.
That sounds fantastic. And what do you like most about working here?
Aside from the beautiful building, yes, aesthetically, it's a wonderful place to work. But I really like my early experience was in a center, and I really enjoyed having other service providers close by, right? The New England Center for Children had speech paths, physiotherapists, OTs, folks where if you had a question and you needed an answer, somebody was really close by. And so I'm excited to be a part of a larger community like that, because so often in behavior consultation, we're working out of our cars and we're going to this place or that place, and you do develop relationships with other professionals, and it's wonderful when you can work with them with more than one client.
Yes.
But we're really excited to have more of kind of an interwoven experience here.
That's very true. And is there something you would like our public to know about your preschool that we have not yet mentioned?
I think we touched on the fact that there are still spaces available. Some folks hear about us, but they assume that we're full for this year. But this is our first year, so we are still accepting applications.
And that's wonderful. And I'm sure a lot of parents think you're full, because I know I've heard, and I know many parents have spoken to me over the years saying that they would love a service like what you're offering. I mean, if this was available when my son was in preschool, I think we would have been on your doorstep right off the bat. So for parents out there who think like I do, who have been crying for a service like this to be available in our community, this is available, and we are so grateful to have you here. And you are in what I consider to be the best building for autism in Canada. So if you do decide to come here, not only do you get a preschool, but you have a plethora of people who are very well aware of how to help your child through their lifespan.
Absolutely.
And what success stories would you like to share with our audience?
Oh, well, I think one of the beautiful things about having been able to work in British Columbia for nearly 10 years now is that I've been able to see some of my clients who I started with in preschool or even before preschool grow and become, really outgrow my services and just become, other high school students, or go on to get their first jobs out of high school, or go on to do college coursework. And I think that what's really important for parents to know, especially parents who are new to a diagnosis, the first thing that I like to tell parents is that nothing has changed except the application of the label. Your kid is still the same kid that you knew before you started the assessment to after the assessment, right? There was no secret information that the clinician discovered that changes the child that you are so attached to. So that's still the same child, and that child has so much potential. And the earliest that we can get in there and figure out what really drives them, what are they passionate about, right?
Yes.
Those are some of my best success stories, are where we've been able to find a special interest, something that they're motivated to pursue on their own. And we find that we get, in school, some of the best work out of them, or in a career, they're, the most on task on the job because they're so deeply passionate about it. And that's something that is so unique to autism, is that focus and passion, right? And if we can just uncover it and give it a place to grow, then we can really see amazing things.
Temple Grandin says the exact same thing, and I absolutely agree.
Well, she should know.
Yes, she should. And finally, what is the one thing you'd like the world to know about autism?
I think, just piggybacking on my last statement about, really harnessing the passions and the energy that those kids and then eventually adults have, but also that investing in early intervention and childhood intervention and investing in our schools and providing more specialized services in school, whether it's preschool, elementary, or high school, is really investing in the future of British Columbia, of Canada, of North America, because the more we can put into them now, the more of a contribution they'll be able to make to our society, both in innovations and creative thinking, which is so amazing for them, but then also with their independent skills that will require less services and intervention through adulthood, which really lasts much longer than school if we think about it.
And for our audience out there that are listening to that brilliant answer, I suggest rewinding and listening to that over and over again, because I couldn't have said it any better myself. And I want to thank you so much, Kathryn, for joining us here today. I think you've informed our audience, and from one parent who wishes their child was starting over in some capacity to have been able to attend your preschool. Thank you so much for bringing your services from abroad to our location here in Richmond to work with our community members and aid them in their growth to becoming the type of citizens you're talking about. So I really appreciate your time here today.
It is truly my pleasure. And I know it's a bit of a cliche, but you learn just as much, if not more, from the clients you're working with than you teach them, right? So It's been an opportunity for me to be here and to do this kind of work in British Columbia. And I have learned and benefited from it, I'd say, just as much as my clients have.
I've said the same thing as a teacher myself. And don't forget, Soar Inclusive Preschool is still accepting applications for their September session, which starts September 11th. And if you'd like to apply, please go on our webpage at autism30.com to find all the details and their contact information. I believe their email is the fastest and quickest way to get in contact. And I want to thank our Autism 30 audience for once again joining us. And if you're listening to us on iTunes, don't forget to click and write a review. Your review helps Autism 30 remain near the top of the list so that others can find us easily. And it's really appreciated by our team. We hope you're having a brilliant summer. Once again, this is Tally telling you to live in love.
Hey yo, I'm an autism awareness angel, making sure my wings protect the different.